The point with dynamic components is not to create them on view load, but creating them temporarily based on some event and later probably remove them. So in this example, it would be much more interesting to get the code where I'm building the component, in this case in after content init, I got all this code, and then move it to the showWhenTimerAlert method, that is the point where I really need this component. Let me remove this unnecessary console log first, and now if I move to the browser, I can see how it works fine. I click play and on countdown end the timer is shown. Let me show you one thing. If I inspect the code, I can see that the AppSimpleAlert view, it is created below a div with no usage because it's an empty div. This is the div where I've told Angular that the dynamic component has to be created, and obviously in this case this is not very efficient. I would prefer the alert to be created without the need of this extra div. There's another problem associated with this issue. If I refresh the browser, you can see my tabs, the other alert view, and here the useless empty div. So this div is already included into the DOM despite I have not created yet the dynamic component. But don't worry. Remember that for that kind of situations we can use the ngContainer element, that is an Angular directive that emulates a DOM node, but in fact it's not rendered. So let's give it a try. I open up component, I get the div with template reference variable alert, and I replace it with an ngContainer. Now back to your browser, open the inspector and see how there are the tabs, the app alert view, and there's no extra div but an empty comment. And if I click play, when the countdown ends, you can see how my dynamic component is created below, and no extra div appears anywhere. Using ngContainer, I have achieved to insert a dynamic component into the DOM without an extra and unnecessary element above it. Of course, there's another thing. Let me press OK, restart, and init a new countdown, and by the end, guess what? It has created a new AppSimpleAlert view below the previous one that is not shown because its visible property is set to false. So I'm having now two dynamic components because I've never destroyed the previous one. However, I can solve it very easily. To destroy a dynamic component, you only have to use the destroy method of the component ref. Open appComponent.ts and inside the onThisMiss, instead of console.log text, I can call this.simpleAlert.destroy. This way, when I click the close button of my alert, an event is fired, and when the parent component that is subscribed detects the event, it destroys the dynamic component. So back to the browser, I click play, wait until the countdown ends, and the alert is shown, I can inspect it, and there's my AppSimpleAlert view, but when I press the OK button, the component is destroyed and removed from the DOM. I can reset and start again, and on countdown ends, a new alert is created and added to the DOM, and it's destroyed again on close. Let me summarize this. I've moved the creation of the dynamic view into the showWhenTimerAlert method, so you can see that it really makes sense to create and destroy components on runtime. The method destroy has been used to remove the component. Also, I have converted the div I used to inject my component into an ngContainer element, so there's no extra element rendered when the dynamic component does not exist.